Guys, welcome to the wonderful world of wildcat cartridges. In front of me here, I've got a bunch of different wildcats. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I probably shoot predominantly wildcats. I'm going to get into the reasons why I do that, some of the advantages of shooting wildcats, some of the disadvantages of shooting wildcats, a little bit of history of the wildcats. You might even be shooting a wildcat or a cartridge that once was a wildcat and you might not know this. So without further ado, let's jump into the unbelievably cool world of wildcatting cartridges. So just what is a wildcat cartridge? In short, it's a cartridge that is not standardized by the two bodies that basically standardize cartridges. We have CIP, which you may have heard of if you're buying a long action magazine. It's a CIP length magazine. And then you also have the SAMI spec. Now basically these specs exist so that manufacturers, let's say Ruger for example, or Savage or whoever, can stick to a certain set of rules to manufacture specific cartridges. It standardizes everything. That way when ammunition manufacturers, everybody can work off the same standard. That's basically what that means. Now the Wildcat goes beyond this. Now first things first, what is the history of Wildcat cartridges? Well, it actually dates back to 1882, would you believe it, where a gentleman necked down a 32 Wesson extra long to a 25 caliber, and this was the start of a wildcatting revolution, modifying existing cartridges to squeeze some extra juice out of them. Now let's get into why you would potentially want a wildcat before we look at some of the disadvantages. Now there are many benefits to wildcatting. The first one, usually the main one, is higher velocities. Okay, by, for example, necking an existing cartridge down 1 caliber smaller or sometimes even 2 calibers smaller, you can now shoot a smaller bullet with the same amount of powder behind it at a way increased speed. Okay, so better performance downrange. The next one is better ballistic coefficient bullets or modern bullets. Now, you could argue that you could shoot these same bullets in an existing cartridge, and absolutely you can. Where the limitation sometimes comes in is, let's say for example you have a 22-50 with a 1 in 14 twist barrel. Okay, you wanted to shoot 90 grain A-tips, is not going to work for you. Okay, so then you need a new barrel. Yes, you could then chamber it back in 22-50, but then there are some things you could do to make it just a little bit better, and that's what people normally do. So usually with wildcatting, that involves a new barrel with tighter twists so you can shoot heavier 4 caliber bullets. So the next benefit, I know I'm going to have some comments about this, it's increased accuracy. Now, if you say that you cannot make a cartridge more accurate by changing the case geometry, you clearly do not own a BR variant cartridge. If you shoot a 6-dasher or a 6BR or a 6BRA or anything in this cartridge or this case, sort of parent case design, you know how absolutely wildly bananas it is. It is just, it's the easy button of easy buttons when it comes to having a rifle shoot small little groups, okay? The 6-dasher is unbelievable. I'm also proud to say that at Impact Pro Shop, soon we'll have some 6-dashers in stock, so keep an eye on our store for that. So optimized case design, changing little angles, making sure the powder full ratio is optimized, where that bullet is actually sitting in the neck. All of those things optimized lead to inherently more accurate cartridges. That is a fact. It's proven by the numerous world records modified cartridges like the 6-dasher has. It just freaking works. Example, just last week, I had like 4 random loads that I just put the same load as my other load that I know works well in my rifle. Change the bullet, change the primer, change the cases. Every single one of those groups looked like my proper load developed group. It was absolutely wild. So just another point for why the Dasher is, I think, the ultimate cartridge for what I do, at least in the precision rifle world. Then one of the byproducts of optimized case design is reduced recoil. Let's take these two for example. Over here, we have a dummy round for a 300 Norma. This uses a 338 bolt face, okay? And in this hand, I've got my 30 Sherman Magnum. This is a standard Magnum bolt face. I've got way less powder in this, and it's pushing the same bullet at almost the same speed. It's a little bit behind the Norma, but ballistically, very, very similar. I can shoot this a hell of a lot longer than I can shoot my 300 Norma without getting fatigued. I actually don't have a 300 Norma. This is my friend's one, but my 300 Norma is on its way. So excited to have that on the channel. We've got a bunch of rifles coming, guys. So please make sure you're subscribed so you can see our hunting adventures and all our stuff. We're going to get into all of these in a little bit. I'll show you guys some examples. Now, it can't be all positive, right? There are some downsides to shooting wildcat cartridges. Number one is probably a lot of these odd cartridges, most of them, you cannot just walk into a store and go buy a 6-dasher. It really doesn't exist. You have to go to very specialized places to buy some of these rifles. Big manufacturers don't manufacture them for the before mentioned reasons of sticking to that standardization. Because within, let's take the dasher for example, there are hundreds of different specs of how this reamer works, what bullet you want to shoot, how your dimensions are. So there could just be so many variants of this. So that's the one downside. You can't just walk in and go buy like a Ruger precision rifle chambered in dasher. It doesn't exist. The other downside is you can't go into the store and buy ammo for something like this, okay? You have to be a reloader. Now, that also comes with its benefits of reloading. We all love tinkering in our reloading rooms, and if you shoot a wildcat, you're always reloading. So there's that. And that obviously also means that if you do not reload already, you have to go through the additional expense of getting all your reloading equipment set up. This also comes with one other downside. Sometimes when you're shooting wildcats, especially where we stay in South Africa, finding dyes and stuff for your wildcats is not always the easiest thing in the world, so that is sometimes a little bit of a hindrance when you're shooting wildcats. Now, some of the cartridges you might be shooting today used to be wildcats. Let's look at some examples of those. So the first wildcat that has gained mainstream popularity is probably the 22-250. In 1915, the 22-250 was wildcatted off the 250 Savage, okay? That is how the 22-250 started becoming a mainstream cartridge. And some of these cartridges also went the other way. Let's take, I think this is the 7 Psalm, short action ultra magnum, technically Remington's short action ultra mag. This used to be a factory chambering, but it kind of faded away, and now this is very, very sought after cartridge for long range shooters and long range hunters. The 7 Psalm, very much like the 6-dasher, something about this short, fat case design just freaking works. These things are notoriously accurate, notoriously deadly at long range, and strikes that balance between high BC bullet at the right speed. You're going to shoot these 180 grain bullets at about 2,920 feet per second, and that really is such a little sweet spot for the recoil, BC, and speed sort of. It's just the perfect combination, almost in that Goldilocks zone of a high-performing long-range cartridge. I absolutely love myself some 7 Psalm. And example, it really didn't gain that much mainstream popularity, and now it's actually considered a wildcat, even though it started its life as a factory chambering. Another cartridge which gained unbelievable popularity over the last couple of years is the 6.5 PRC. Now that's been modified off a 300 Ruger compact magnum. High BC 6.5mm bullet at great speeds, very much like the 7 Psalm, absolutely deadly combo. Now, sometimes these cartridges do become certified, and we have here, for example, a 22 Creedmoor. Now, not too long ago, actually about 13 months ago, this was still considered a wildcat. Now this is SAMI approved. Funny story, I was actually at the dinner the night that they got the SAMI approval for the 22 Creedmoor. So that was pretty cool to be in. I don't think I've told this story, but we were sitting in this restaurant in Las Vegas. There was a big TV behind us, and they had like a compilation of animals getting absolutely annihilated with the 22 Creed, and the entire restaurant behind us that had no idea what our dinner was about just was like eating their meat and looking up and seeing these animals get smoked. It was hilarious. Anyway, okay, let's have a look at what I have in front of me. I'll quickly chat about some of these. This monstrosity, which you guys see over here, is a 33XC. Now, this doesn't actually have a parent case. This was designed by David Tubb, and this is considered one of the most optimized extreme long-range cartridges. My friend Skulk actually was kind enough to make us a few dummy rounds, because I actually don't own all of these, so he made us a few of these dummy rounds. 33XC shoots the 338 bullet at unbelievable speeds with low recoil. There's also a 416 version of this, and there's also a 375 version of this available. Over here, we have my 30 Sherman Magnum. This is basically a 300 PRC, okay, with an improved shoulder. So if you've got a 300 PRC and you want to squeeze some more juice out of your 300 PRC, you could theoretically take your 300 PRC to a gunsmith, ask him to source a 30 Sherman Mag reamer, re-ream your chamber just a little bit forward so that you do get this new 40-degree shoulder, and you're going to get some extra boom out of your 300 PRC. Then over here we have the 300 Norma Mag Ackley Improved. This thing is absolutely wild. 338 bolt face. That means the case is nice and thick. You obviously gain an exceptional amount of powder capacity by making the case thicker like this too, not just longer. This guy has an Ackley Improved shoulder, which basically means the shoulder angle from the normal design has been changed. So let's say we had a 30-degree shoulder on the normal 300 Norma. Now the Ackley Improved version has a 40-degree shoulder. And that basically just gives you, much like the 30 Sherman Magnum, it just gives you a little bit more extra go down the pipe. Then over here we have the 7 Psalm. As I said, I love this cartridge. It's absolutely awesome. Shoots these 180 grain bullets at about 2.920. At least that's been my experience, where I've heard a lot of people say they shoot really well. Then this is a new one, which I don't think a lot of people know about. This is a 7x47, okay? It still needs to be fireformed. This is a dummy round, so there's no primer in there. But when this is fireformed, it's actually going to have a 40-degree shoulder. And this is a new cartridge that is coming to the precision rifle scene. We've got some nice brass manufacturers on board. Alpha Munitions is going to make brass for this thing. I'm going to be shooting this in the PRS in the next couple of months. Hopefully, if my rifle comes. More on this. This is going to deserve its own video. We're going to look at some ballistics compared to the Dasher, and we're going to chat more about that in the future. Then over here, we've got our 22 Creed. This thing is wild. It blows fireballs. We've recently done my 22 Creed project video. If you're new here on the channel, we did project builds on pretty much all of the rifles you guys see behind me, housed in their wonderful MDT hardware, which happened to be the sponsor of today's video. If you guys are looking for chassis systems or accessories, head on over to mdttac.com. They've been unbelievable friends of the channel. They've got amazing customer service, and they're just all-round good people. So if you want to support the channel, don't necessarily have to buy something from my store. You can head over to MDT2 and shop away. They've got some freaking awesome goodies there. Then lastly is our beloved 6-Dasher. Now, I've spoken about this ad nauseum on my channel. This is still my go-to precision rifle cartridge for now, until this shows up, and we're gonna give this a good run. Shoots these 105 grain bullets. You can shoot them much faster than I shoot them. I just find I can run them at about 2.720, and they just work there. I don't need to shoot them fast to reap the benefits of shooting a 6-Dasher. So what I want to hear from you guys is, do you think the benefits of wildcatting justifies all the potential downsides you might have? You need to start reloading, you might struggle with dies a little bit, versus the benefits of wildcatting. Personally, for myself, I think it's worth it for me. And here's why. I live in South Africa. Shooting is ridiculously expensive. We need to reload anyway. So I might as well chamber my custom rifles in something where I have a little bit of an edge over the standard stuff. Is it going to make the difference between me winning and losing a competition? Probably not, but I like having those marginal gains as a little back pocket sort of assurance. So let me know in the comments down below. Do you shoot a wildcat? What cartridges are you excited about? New wildcats that I possibly need to check out? Let me know in the comments down below. There's some wild stuff that is sort of poking around in the ELR scene. Also the new PRS cartridge I'm very excited for, so there's going to be a dedicated video on that. I look forward to seeing your comments. If there's something that piques my interest in the comments down below, I might just build a rifle in that. So I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Guys, thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video. And happy wildcatting, happy reloading. Cheers.